Right, so welcome back to another video, and if you watched my last one, you'll have noticed two things. First, I was whinging and complaining about being stuck to East Yorkshire, so I've driven 45 miles, an hour and a half, and we're now in North Yorkshire. There's a bit more up and down, some more hills, and well, hopefully something a little bit more interesting than we have back at home. Fingers crossed. Second thing you'll notice, I mentioned that I was getting one of these. This is a 85mm f1.4 lens by Samyang. It arrived this morning. Overnight delivery. It cost me £6.95 because I basically swapped a teleconverter that I no longer use for this. So today's video is basically, it's just going to be a walk around North Yorkshire and a first look at this lens. It's heavy. That's my first impression of it. It's 730 grams, which is, well, it actually weighs more than this camera, I think, because when I put it on the camera, it's very front heavy. So yeah, it weighs a lot. Apertures 1.4 to f22. 9 elements in 7 groups inside the thing, and it's an all metal construction, so I like that. It feels heavy, it's made of metal, and the front element on this thing is absolutely massive. So I'm looking forward to using this. Mostly I bought this for the winter time when we head out at night time, do some street photography, astro photography, that kind of thing. That's why the 1.4, that's why I went for that one. It's the fastest lens I own. In fact, it's the fastest lens that I've ever owned, so I'm looking forward to playing with it this afternoon. So come out a bit earlier than I normally would, just to give myself a bit more time. The weather conditions, well, they're not fantastic, I'll be honest with you, but we may just have to punch in and go for some sort of textured look. So, well, it's an 85mm lens, and to be honest with you, at 1.4 it is screaming to get in some woodland and compress the background and blur everything out, because yeah, it's a sort of medium telephoto lens, so you get a little bit of compression with it, and obviously at 1.4 it'll really blur that background out, won't it? So yeah, let's go get stuck in and see how it performs. Oh, and if you're wondering what it's like for video, the entire intro sequence of the trees and the birds and me walking around, that was all shot on this lens at f1.4. So if you're interested in it for video, that's what it's like. And another thing, the aperture click on this is really satisfying. I don't know what it is, it's satisfying to turn. It sounds really stupid, doesn't it? And the focus ring as well. The lens hood, I don't like the lens hood, it kind of gets in the way of the focus ring, but it's tight, but it's sort of not too tight. It's well damped, but it's quite easy to rotate while you're taking video and choose what you're going to get in focus. So yeah, I'm going to bolt this onto the front of this camera and we'll go off and take some pictures. It sounds like there's an awful lot of commotion around here as well somewhere, so I wonder what that's all about. Cool. All right, so here's the first one that I've managed to find. Just in front of me, there is a tree, and it kind of goes up, forks off into a V shape, and on the left-hand side of it, there's another limb coming off it, and it twists through the frame, and it's got some moss on it and everything. It looks quite cool. So the 85mm on, we're at f4, I believe we're at, ISO 800 and a 100th of a second. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this one. And there is that one done. So I'll put that on the screen for you to see, and then we'll head off and go find Dave, who's wandered off down that track, and see what else is around in this really cool looking pine forest, which looks nothing like the forest we get in East Yorkshire. So I'm very happy right now. Cool. Right, I've took a couple of pictures with this lens now, and my initial impressions are f1.4. The autofocus areas look absolutely spot on, but the depth of field is it's about that big. It's very wafer thin, so that's gonna take some getting used to. I might try and find somewhere where we can see how it looks, sort of like a big landscape, sort of F1.4 at infinity, and just seeing how that plays ball. But so far, I'm enjoying using this lens. In fact, I'm recording myself using it right now, so this is what it looks like for video. I think this is at 2.8, I believe I set it at. But yeah, initial impressions are I quite like the lens. Be interesting to see what the images look like when I get home on the camera, on the computer even, because obviously the back of camera screens, they tend to lie. You tend to feel like you're a real good photographer when you see it on the back of your camera, then you get home and you realise that you can't actually use your camera. Hey, so yeah, let's go find something else to take a picture of. We're still in the pine forest, so probably going to be a couple more shots of trees, and then maybe head back up onto the track at the top and see what else is around. Like I say, we're here a bit earlier than we normally would be, so for once, time is on our side, so yeah. Right, so I've took the lens off for a few seconds just so I can hold it as a prop while I talk about it. In fact, let me show you. It is actually quite a nice looking, can we focus it? There we go, look. It's quite a nice looking piece of glass. The front element on this is, well, it's massive. Look at that. If I do that, look at that. Look the other way, look. There we go. Keep having to look at the screen to see what we're showing. So yeah, I want to talk about fringing with it. You know, the high contrast edges that look a little bit purple and a little bit green sometimes. It's not Canon L lens quality in that regard. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's easily removed in Lightroom anyway. It's not really a problem. Wide open, there was a lot of purple, mostly purple, a little bit of green, but mostly purple. But stopping down 2 stops to 2.8, it's all but eliminated. So I would say if you're going to buy this lens, just be aware of the fringing wide open. But as I say, stopping down to 2.8, which is still plenty fast enough for the sort of stuff I do, the fringing all but goes. So we're currently in this really cool looking pine forest area. Like I was saying earlier on, it's not something we often get around in East Yorkshire, so it's quite nice to see a different kind of woodland. So I've been taking pictures of little bits of sap dripping off the trees. I've managed to get a picture of Dave looking quite small for once, and because he's about 8 foot tall. Yeah, it's been quite good fun using this lens, so hopefully we're going to move off. He said something about them maybe in a pond, so I'm kind of hoping he's right, and I'm going to put I've lost my train of thought now. What am I saying? Bye. All right, so just up there in the trees, there is this massively old tree. It's full of moss and there's logs around it that are covered in moss. So I'm going to have to cheat. I'm going to have to take the 85mm off, and I'm going to have to stick my 16 to 35mm on, just so I can get that nice wide field of view to get the whole tree in, and see if the idea that I've got in mind works. So yeah, a little bit of a cheat, but because we're here, it's a shame not to. So I'm gonna take the photograph rather than stick to the video for this one. So I'm gonna try and scramble up that cliff face with the camera and just see what looks best, have a bit of a poke around with things. And it's pretty dark up there as well, so I imagine high ISO might be some very keen animals around. Yeah, I imagine high ISO may be the order of the day for this one. So I'm gonna get up on that bank behind me and go poke around with the camera. All right, so I made it up the rather sketchy cliffside thing here, and the tripod's not in a spot that I'm too happy about, so I just wanna do this bit quite quickly, if I'm being honest with you. But I think I found the composition that I quite like. I'm using some of these ferns down here as a foreground interest. We've got the log that I'm sat on, and we've got this fallen mossy log off to my left hand side here, and all leading up to the really big tree in the background there. So I'll put this on the screen for you to see now, and I'm gonna get myself off here. And well, is it me, or is that, oh, there's some light coming through? Oh, I might have to retake this picture. Right, I'm retaking the picture, but you're gonna see it now anyway, because light's happening behind me. So yeah, you're gonna see it now. All right, can we just take a minute to appreciate how cool this tree looks, and especially the foreground in which it is in. There was these little blue flowers all around, there's all these ferns, there's moss, and the tree is dead, so it really sort of comes alive, if that makes sense. There's moss growing all up it, it's in a clearing, so there's light hitting it. It looks really cool. So once again, I have cheated a little tiny bit by putting the 16 to 35 on, but again, this was one of them shots I just wanted to grab. There was no other way that the 85 was going to grab this. So I'll put this shot on the screen for you to look at, and I'm going to get out of the way because I'm currently stood right in the middle of Dave's shot. So let me scarper, you can see the shot, I'll get my stuff packed up, and I'm going to get out of Dave's way. So here it is. Right, so in terms of first impressions of this 85mm 1.4 from Samyang, I've actually had quite a lot of fun using it this afternoon. It's made a nice change just to stick a nice fast prime on and blare some backgrounds out and everything. So obviously you've seen the images before me because I've got to get home and put all this together. So I'm hoping the images look quite nice on this one. I know I cheated a little bit with a couple of shots, but first and foremost, I enjoy the photography. That's what gets me excited. So yeah, I think we'll leave this one here. The flies are all starting to congregate around my head again. It's definitely mid-fly season, so yeah, I think it's time to say goodbye. So until next time, it's peace and goodbye. Oh, and also don't forget to like the video as well, because it helps. So thanks for watching. See you later. I have no idea how that framing looked.